What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of the Nick Knows Show. Today, I kind of want to go over some of the options for additional stimulus that are in the works right now in the House. There's a lot of confusion, a lot of articles out there that'll say, oh, $2,000 a month stimulus check's coming, or you're not going to have to pay rent, it's going to be forgiven. But really, there's a bunch of proposals out there, and some of them have more support than others. And I'm going to kind of go over the three most popular ones that are out there. And then I'm also going to talk about what I think is going to happen as far as a fourth stimulus package and what you can expect. Basically, there's three big ones that are out there right now that are in the House. And the three big ones are there's the ABC plan, the EMP plan, and the rent and mortgage plan. Okay, and I'm going to be going over each of these just to kind of give you the basics. Okay, the ABC plan is the automatic boost to the communities. Okay, that's what the ABC stands for here. This is the most ambitious plan, okay? And when I tell you about this plan, you're gonna be like, that sounds amazing, except for the debt that we're gonna take on to have to do it. So basically, every person, 0 to 100, gets $2,000 a month, okay? So what that means is if you have 4 kids and you and your spouse, you're going to be receiving $12,000 a month, okay? $2,000 per person for 6 people, $12,000 a month for the payment period. Now, the payment period is defined as 1 year after the president ends the emergency session, okay? So March 13th, Trump initiated the emergency state, okay? And that is still going on right now. Well, as soon as he ends that, whatever date he ends that, for a year after that date, you'll receive $2,000 per month. Then, after that, you'll receive $1,000 per month per person for another year, okay? So that's at least 2 years of free money. Like me, a family of 3, I have a son. That'd be $6,000 a month for at least a year, and then $3,000 a month for a year after that. Like I said, very ambitious, and there's no income requirements, so Jeff Bezos is going to get this money. Elon Musk is going to get this money. You're going to get this money. Everybody's going to get this money. There's no income restrictions. There's no age restrictions. So my 2-year-old son's going to get $2,000, which is crazy. It's crazy. I think we'll talk about what I think is going to happen, but that's definitely the most ambitious plan. The one that has the most support is the emergency money for the people. Okay, this is the EMP plan here. Now, this one has 17 senators signed on it. They're all Democrats, so, there's not necessarily bipartisanship yet. But the fact that it has that much support as a proposal, I think this is probably going to be the most likely scenario for getting passed in the House, which is Democrat controlled. This one gives $2,000 a month per person over the age of 16. Now, you had to be 16 as of January 1 of 2020. Okay, so if you were 16 as of January 1, 2020 or older, you're going to receive $2,000 a month for 6 months, okay? Then at the 6-month mark, they will reassess. They'll look at, I think there's a measurement of unemployment. If unemployment's not low enough, then it will be renewed for another 6 months. Also, they're doing $500 per month per child. So, for example, my family, me, my spouse, and my son, $2,000 for me, $2,000 for my spouse, $500 for my son. That's $4,500 a month for 6 months. Plus, there could be an additional 6 months if unemployment levels have not reached a certain threshold. There is an income requirement on this. You have to make less than $130,000 as an individual or $260,000 as a couple. So if you file your taxes joint, if you make less than $260,000 as your adjusted gross income, you'll receive this money. If you make more than that, it'll be phased out, kind of like the first stimulus check, and then at a certain level, you'll get no money from the government for that. So that's the Emergency Money for the People Act. And again, it has 17 senators backing it. The third program is the rent and mortgage program. And this is interesting. I think this is a interesting idea of basically canceling rent and primary mortgage payments through the end of 2020. I think this is appealing because it helps everybody not lose their house or lose the place that they're living. But I think there's a lot more flaws with this kind of a plan than there is just a blanket money plan. In these plans, at least, nobody is being left out. Nobody's getting screwed over. The money goes to everybody. Everybody gets it equally, unless you're super rich, in which case you probably don't need $1,000, $2,000. That's not going to change your life. This plan, you don't have to pay your rent for a year, so that's nice. If you're a renter, you win. And then if you are a homeowner, you don't have to pay your mortgage for the rest of the year on your primary residence, which if all you have is your primary residence, then that's a win for you. It's not clear whether your taxes and insurance would also be not, like you wouldn't have to pay your taxes and insurance, or if you would have to pay your taxes and insurance, just not your principal and interest payments. That's not really clear yet in this proposal. The problem right here is the primary. It's your primary mortgage payment. And what that means is landlords are basically getting screwed on this deal. So I'm a landlord, I have 6 doors, and I would basically not be able to collect rent from my tenants, but I would be forced to continue to pay my mortgage payments. Now, the way that they've gone about this is the HUD, the Housing and Urban Development, is going to set up a fund for landlords, okay? And when I think of this fund for landlords, I think kind of like the PPP, right? Maybe there's enough money in this fund for like 1% of landlords or 10% of landlords to get money, but there's probably not enough money for all the landlords to get money. And seeing as how 1/3 of Americans rent, there's 1/3 of the houses that are going to basically have to have a mortgage payment on that aren't going to be getting rent payments on. And that's a huge percentage of the housing market. All right, so they're going to set up a fund for landlords. So you have to apply to the fund to get money. Then you get the money eventually after lots of paperwork and signing your life away. But then you have to abide by their rules for 5 years, okay, as a landlord. But for 5 years, you cannot raise rents for 5 years. You have to give HUD notice if your property becomes available for rent so that they can offer it to, I guess it's Section 8 housing. You cannot evict for any reason that is not illegal. You cannot kick a tenant out for any reason that's not illegal. So you can only evict them. You cannot not renew their lease. You cannot make decisions based on credit score. You cannot run their credit, which I'm not sure how you're going to be able to tell whether a tenant is a good tenant or not if you're not able to screen them like you normally are. Anyways, it will be interesting to see how this plays out in the real world, because I'm not sure that landlords are going to be willing to sign up for 5 years of strings attached by the government and the government all in their paperwork in order for that to happen. The other thing is, in order to get this money, you have to disclose, part of the deal is you have to disclose all your assets, all your liabilities, all your bank accounts, offshore, everything to them. And then they're going to give money based on need. Now look, I understand that sometimes you have to give money based on need, but when we're talking about landlords here, we're talking about people that are already, they own property, they have things. So basically, if you're a landlord and you don't have enough reserves, if you don't keep any reserves, if you're like on the brink of bankruptcy, you get bailed out first. You don't get punished for running your business poorly. You get rewarded for running your business poorly. And then the landlords that do have reserves, they go through all this paperwork, they disclose all this stuff, all this information, they don't get any money anyways. So I think this is going to be interesting to see play out for sure. So what does this mean? We got these 3 proposals. We got the ABC, the EMP, and the rent and mortgage. What's going to happen? Well, these are just my thoughts. These are all proposals. These are just my thoughts, but I thought I would share them with you. The Fed has come out. Jerome Powell has come out and said that they have basically no spending limit. This is a war on the virus, and we're going to spend whatever we need to get this fixed. The Democrats obviously are running a lot of proposals out there in the House. And my guess is one of these, probably the emergency money for the people, is going to pass the House because it's Democrat controlled. And then at that point, it's going to go to the Senate. Now, the Senate is Republican controlled. And so if this passes and goes to the Senate, I think it's going to get watered down considerably. I think it'll look more like maybe $1,200 a month for 3 months, not $2,000 a month for 6 months with a 6-month renewal. I think as you start to see states open up, like Texas is opening up a little bit this Friday, today, and other states are following suit. And the fact that the remdesivir trials from Gilead have come back positive as far as a treatment for the virus, and as far as the fact that House doesn't meet again until May 4th, which is another few days away, and all this positive information is coming out, that it's going to be hard for another round of stimulus to get through, in my opinion, in the form of big checks like this. I think most likely scenario is we see one more round of $1,200, or we see some form of payroll tax cuts. Trump's been talking about that since the beginning, and he's really on that right now. So I think that may be something that gets done, which basically just means your paycheck will be a little bit bigger. I do know that President Trump really wants to spend on infrastructure though right now. He's made that very clear. He wants a big package for infrastructure since interest rates are so low. And so I think if something were to get done, one of these bigger programs, they would have to package it with something like that President Trump really wants in order for it to pass. I will say that the longer unemployment continues to rise, we just topped 30 million Americans unemployed. The longer that happens, I think the greater chance something like this gets passed. So next week, the House will convene and start talking about these. If next week's job numbers are up again, there's more unemployment again, I think these become more conversation starters. And I think the president and some of the Republicans will get on board as they see their constituents continue to be out of work. So these are the plans that are out there. I hope that was informative. And when you hear people say, oh, they're going to give $2,000 a month, you kind of know what they're talking about. But these are the plans that are out there. And I kind of gave you my 2 cents on what I think is going to happen. Hope you found this information interesting. I know reading about this stuff has been interesting for me. Anyways, I hope you liked it. And if you wouldn't mind, click the subscribe button, smash the like button, and I'll see you next time.